today is what? Friday? July 28th? It's Kate's birthday today.
Who's?
My middle daughter, Kate.
Whose birthday?
Kate.
Happy
To sing happy birthday.
Yeah.
So we have Bobby, Sherry, June, and Maureen are here, and we're going to be talking about the story of the family story about preparing and planning and then leaving Jamaica and coming to the U.S. And we're going to capture it all. Awesome.
1970. It was like a perfect time for us in Jamaica. After working really hard, we had our supermarket, and it was doing great. We had always wanted to have a farm. That was Dad's and my real dream. And in 1970, this guy came to us. He had this beautiful farm he had got from his parents, but he was not a farmer, he was a banker. And he offered it to us. And from what I understood, he gave us a really good price. And the next day, somebody came to him and offered him double the money. And he said, I've already promised the Sigourney Lewises.
Wow.
And he turned on the guy. That's something out of the past, right?
Yeah.
So, by 1973, Maria and I had built a house up on a hill, but cut off the top of a hill and built a house. So it's like everything was just perfect. It was
How big was the farm?
It was, the original farm was like 75 acres, but then we bought the back part from someone, so it was like 150 acres.
And what did you do on the farm?
We started with milk cows,
What kind?
dairy, Holstein, that's the black and white cows, and then we started with pigs, and then we went to dairy, and also we had about, I think it was nearly 1,000 laid hens.
All white.
All right, yeah, and
Pigeons.
yeah, we had pigeons too, and then we'd sell the eggs and stuff at the supermarket. But
And remember, Mom
Yeah.
did all the picking up of the eggs, all the grading and cleaning. That was her job for the supermarket. It was a big job.
yeah,
In the 70s, Mom, she was born in 1904, therefore she was 70 in 1974. So she was the older. And I remember Mom having mussels because she carried the basket of eggs. They'd be full with eggs, and she'd carry them after she'd collected them. So.
mhm.
But to go back a little further, I don't know if everyone remembers, but how we got into the bigger supermarket was because of favor through the Farquharsons. Mr. Farquharson came, and this is my understanding, and guaranteed the loan to move into the other supermarket.
I didn't know that, but that's probably true.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
so if we didn't have favor with someone like that,
Who was he?
Mr. Farquharson was a friend of the family.
He was a big landowner,
Yeah,
white person. I guess he lived in England part of the year, he and his wife.
yeah, because when we went to London, he
Yeah.
invited us
Yeah,
to their apartment. It was huge.
yeah.
What else?
Do you remember the peacocks at Anglesey?
Oh, yes.
Vaguely.
Hard to remember anything.
So whilst all this was going on, I was living in Kingston, married to Jill's father, Jackie. And I gave up my part of the supermarket, and Mike came in and took my place. So that's how they were able to get additional help.
Tony had come in before that. didn't
Tony came in before
He
Mike.
came in before I left.
Before Mike.
Before what?
Before Mike,
Yeah.
Tony
Mike.
came in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I knew Tony was in there, yeah. So it was a whole family business. And it all started with Dad doing out of Paradise, where we all lived across from the electric station. Dad started his little business selling chicken backs, right, Bob?
Chicken backs.
Yes, you bought them frozen, just the backs. And that's what the people lived on, and that's what Dad wanted, to be able to feed
Poor people?
the poor people.
Right, yeah,
And they'd come all the way up to Paradise to buy it.
yeah.
And Bob, you were the first one to join?
Yeah, I was there from the beginning because after I left school I went to work in Kingston for a short while, lived with you for a little while.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Then I think Dad got sick with a kidney problem, and I went back. That was before the farm, before the supermarket, and that's when we started to sell from the house. We had no refrigeration.
So,
We built insulated boxes
Yes.
with ice and kept the chicken back in there.
Yes. Yeah.
So we started from the ground floor, or the basement, probably you call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dad had retired he was secretary of the parish council for 25 years, and he had retired.
And he ran for.
Yes, he ran for office or House of Representatives, and he was probably thrashed by a man who couldn't write his name, right?
What party was it?
He was Jamaica Labour Party. But I think he lost most of his savings in the election. So
In the election, I was living with them for some reason. That was before I went to Kingston.
yeah,
Peter and I were living with them.
right, yeah,
And the family were traumatized because the whole election team took over the house, slept on our sofa,
They do that.
urinated on the floor.
Wow.
I don't know if Bob remember, but I just know it was horrible. And Dad would get eggs thrown in his face. They would ambush him on the way out when he was going to do election. Dad put us through, it was horrible for the family. And all the big election officials came down, and it was a very difficult time for the family. I can imagine what Mom went through.
Dad was somewhat like Ted Cruz. He was a total oppositionist to his own people, to his own party. So they really didn't like him. The Prime Minister sent him
no, I have that story.
okay.
One day, he sent me to the post office.
Who, Dad did?
Dad, to send a telegram to the Prime Minister. Rome burns while Nero fiddles.
This is the message.
That was the message, and the postmistress looked at me. You're sending this to the Prime Minister.
And that's
So-
his party.
That is his part.
Yeah.
And Ali Bustamante sat back and said, one leader at a time.
And that's
I'll
his
never forget
Bustamante.
it. I had to do that job.
So what was his issue with the Jamaican Labour Party?
I don't quite remember what it was.
I don't remember what it
He
was.
had a lot
but
of issues.
They had a lot of issues.
Okay.
I was just new in the family
Yeah.
at that time. And he sent me up to the post office. I had no clue what was in that. And when I read it, and the postmistress read it, she about died. I'm supposed to send this to the Prime Minister.
Because,
I said, that's what my father-in-law said.
Bustamante was somewhat dictatorial.
Daddy?
He was democratic.
Somewhat.
It was Buster's way, and my dad was very similar to that too.
Oh,
So they locked
Yeah.
horns, you know.
But we need to go back to June, because she is the thread out of all of this, how we got out of the country.
Yeah.
Before you go there, can you just give us a sense of what did you do to enjoy life? Before we get to that story, what were you doing to
Work,
leisure?
work, work.
There
No,
was
but
no
when you weren't
enjoyment.
working-
Hey, there was no enjoyment.
No,
just
none,
work.
nothing.
Well, no, work was our enjoyment.
Yeah.
Because we were doing what we loved, but
Mm.
the families suffered.
Yeah. My kids hardly saw, like Stephen, he hardly saw Bobby because Bobby was up from before he woke up, went down to the milk parlor,
Mm.
and then
The supermarket.
by the time I had taken Stephen to school, Bobby came up and went to the supermarket. By the time he came home, Stephen was in bed.
Mm.
So Stephen would really only see him if he went to visit him down at the farm on a weekend.
The
It was really tough on
The
Stephen.
sad part about this is, what I see is that Daddy was for the poor man.
Yes.
Mhm.
After he died, you can correct me, but many of the, what we call poor people, who subsistence farmers, they came and said, Mass Ernest, that's what they call him. Mass Ernest told us to go to the supermarket and get whatever we want, because we were hungry, or gave us a little money. Daddy's whole heart was for the, he was not a real politician who was for themselves.
No,
I mean, I'm not trying to make him a
He was
hero.
an advocate.
Yes. And the very people that he loved
Turned against her.
That was the saddest thing of it. It had nothing to do with skin color or it had to them everything to do with it. But Daddy, everything they owned, they worked hard. I mean, I saw them. They worked with the cattle all weekend. It was constant. Everything they did, they worked hard. And so did their wives. And Jerry was a hard worker. So that to me, leading up to it, Jamaica was beautiful at that time.
Yes.
We would go down there.
Yeah.
You remember us going down there. We had-
Oh, we remember you, June coming with her suitcases. That smelled so nice of America. So tell your story of how you left.
Should I bother? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Please.
You're the thread.
You're the matriarch.
well,
Don't
well-
bother, enjoy.
and just upfront, I was never happy living in Jamaica. I never liked Jamaica. I'm just going to be honest. All my life, as a young person, I dreamed about moving. I don't know. I knew I wasn't going to go to England. I didn't want to go to England. I wanted to come to the United States. And I don't know why it was inside of me, but that's what I wanted. I didn't want to win a Jamaica scholarship because that was going to send me to England. I'm serious. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go to the New World. I wanted to go to America.
Do you think Aunt Laurie's had anything to do with that? Who used to go to America all the time?
It may, but it was just, I think it was the Lord, because he knew
Fulfilling.
that we're going to need a refuge. And now you have to understand, Dawn has gone back in the ancestry. Our family has been in Jamaica maybe at least from the 1700s, maybe earlier. Our whole roots were in Jamaica. Everything was Jamaica. And so when my dad finally agreed, and when he came up to the United States in 1951 to visit, he was at a party with an old girlfriend of his, who's Louise, who worked off Wall Street. She had a very good job. And he met a professor from Columbia. And he said to the professor, I have a daughter who really wants to come to America. She wants to go, she does well in school, she wants to go, what do you think about it? He says, well, now Columbia is not accepting many foreign students. If she went to a city college in New York City, then she could transfer after the first year. So Daddy applied. I don't know how we knew about Hunter College. So we applied to Hunter
He's
College.
amazing. That is amazing.
I don't know how I don't know how it all came about. That I don't know. But and Hunter was, in those days, New York City was the city in this country. Their education was the best. There was no doubt about it. And Hunter College was a women's college, and it was it was very hard to get into. I didn't know that. I thought I just got a scholarship because I was a foreign student. Recently I've learned that not many people got into Hunter in those days. So that's how I came here. And I stayed with Uncle Shirley, who's Dad's brother, who came up here in maybe the 20s, and his wife and his family, Sonny, Roger, and Vernon, his son. So I stayed here, and I knew I was never going back.
I know, she told me not. I have no desire to come back here.
I have-
So what was it like to be a country girl in this big city and you had to find your way around?
Exciting! Oh my
Yeah.
God! My college was on Park Avenue. That was the top street in the world, Park Avenue, where all the rich people live. And I remember I'd never been in the here during the fall or winter or anything. I came and I would walk from 68th Street down to 56th Street to save some money to get the subway, and I would be amazed at America. The lights, Bloomingdale's, all these things. So I am at heart an American. I just have to tell you that. I'm not interested in Jamaican news. I'm just not. It just doesn't, I'm at heart an American. So.
And you didn't have much money. Dad didn't have much money to give you.
One
How
day,
did you exist?
well, Aunt Dottie and Uncle Shirley were good to me, and I always, when Daddy sent any money for me, I'd split it in half and give them half, and I'd keep half. One day I was coming home from school, and the easiest way was to take the overhead train to the subway. But you needed a transfer, and I only had the money for one ticket to get to buy one transfer. And I had I wouldn't have backpack, my arms filled with books, and I was holding the transfer in my hand, walking down the steps, and it blew out of my hand, blew away. And this was far from Aunt Dottie. This day, I had no phone, no nothing.
Yeah.
So I went to the ticket agent and said, my transfer blew out of my hand, and she gave me a free ride. So it was hard, but it was exciting.
And how was it at Hunter College? What were you studying, and how did that inspire you?
Well, I went there thinking I was going to do chemistry, because I really love chemistry. But when I got there, they would not accept that extra. I went 2 extra years in Jamaica. I was college bound, so we did 2 extra years. That's how it went. And I had all the first year chemistry all done already, and they wanted me to go back and take it over again. And I said no. So I was talking to a friend, and she said, "Why don't you try economics?" Economics? Hey, I never heard of economics. Let's do economics. And this is a brand new field, so that's when I studied economics. And I thought, I took French as my minor. I thought I was going to be an international businesswoman.
Yeah.
And when I graduated, the only job I could get as a woman was a secretary. And the first offer was in a pool, in a secretarial pool.
Yeah.
That just sat there and typed.
Yeah.
And they took at IBM, because IBM did not hire women as private secretaries for their executives.
Really?
So they had men who were private secretaries, and us women did the peon work. And I said, I'm not doing that. So I got a job. I got a job right where the World Trade Center is, right there. It was close to Wall Street, and it was with a man who was the treasurer of American Smelting and Refining Company, which was a blue chip company at that time. And I was his private secretary. That's all I could get. So, and then I met Earl. And that's all I ever wanted to do, was be married to Earl. So,
So how did you get into teaching?
after Bobby, not Bobby, I'm sorry, Stephen, I'm sorry, I called Sammy knows I called.
We all know.
I go through my whole list.
After Stephen was about 4 years old, I went back and took some credits in college, and I got a teaching job. So that was where I was, and my husband was actually, Earl was actually closer to my family than I was. He really loved my family, really loved them. So, in the 70s, I remember him talking with Bobby. It was close to the time you were shot.
Mm.
Because Bobby said, things just don't look good. Right, Bobby? Can you remember any of that?
Can't you hear? No.
Yeah.
I can remember some of that because I remember them lending Earl some money when he was going into business. You remember the electronics
Yeah.
business? And I remember that, you know, Earl was just so good to us after that. And when we actually got out of Jamaica, I came by myself with the kids because I had to leave Bobby in the hospital after he got shot. So I came by myself, Angie, my aunt, came with me, and HRS had given me a letter to the embassy that I needed to take a helper with me with Gina.
We have to explain about Gina.
No, Gina was our second kid, and she was born with a mental retardation. She was a congenital brain damage. So she really couldn't help herself. And she was the most hyperactive kid you have ever met.
Yeah.
When we arrived in America, she swung around and hit her head in she had double joints, and she just wrung her head on around, and she went slap bam in a post in the airport. The cops came down on top of me. I got so mad because I had a folder so big of her medical history. And I looked on them and I had a half an hour connection. I was going to Orlando, had a half an hour connection, and the cops are there. And
It
I
was
said,
in Miami, right?
in Miami airport.
Yeah.
And I looked on them and I said, you see this kid, if you let me miss that plane, you can have her. Well, they had walkie-talkies running with me. Hold the plane, hold the plane. That's what I said. Hold the plane, hold it. But poor Angie couldn't keep up with me at all. And I had Rose with me, the helper. Steve was there trying to grab the baggages at 8 years old. And Angie was no use because she had Christopher holding. And it's basically Stephen and I was holding on to Gina, trying to get baggages to, and they came down on top of me. Anyway, we made the plane. It was a big DC-10 plane, and it was started up and everything, and as soon as they pushed us in, they slammed the door. We didn't even sit down before they were moving. Anyway, that was just a part of the little story.
So let's go back to Jamaica now. What happened to cause you to make that flight?
That
That
flight,
fly, yeah. What was happening?
Well,
What started going wrong in the mid-70s?
yeah, I remember saying about how idyllic it was, like in 1973. And then we got a very charismatic, handsome man called Michael Manley. His dad was Prime Minister of Jamaica too. And like most politicians, he won election, but what he electioneered on was not how he ruled, okay? Because I remember, I guess we were married in '68, and Maureen was from his side. Of
oh,
it.
I knew him well. They wouldn't pick us up.
Maureen's whole party was
Yeah, and
was
he
opposite.
lived right
Whole
above
family
us.
was.
Yeah.
In Kingston.
In Kingston,
Yeah.
he lived right above us.
Yeah.
And to be truthful, I was fooled by the man too, because here it was. Finally, a politician in Jamaica had the chance to unite the whole country.
Mm.
I mean, it sounded so good. And the minute he won, he divided it down the middle.
Mm.
Haves against the have-nots, whites against blacks against whites,
Any color.
rich against poor.
Yeah.
Mm.
If, you know,
It
was-
started terrible and
he had such a chance to
change.
be a wonderful person to Jamaica, right? And he just took the that's how he was built. I think that's how he
was
grew up. I
He
think
was a labor union
Yeah.
guy too.
yeah.
Well, he was a Jamaica scholar. He was brilliant.
Mhm.
He was a barrister. He went to England, studied the law.
He was a nice guy. We grew up with him around us. We would take the bus and he would pick us up in his big black Cadillac and drop us off.
I
at
know,
home. And
but what happened in England? We were warned of this as
Yeah.
foreign students going to another country. What the communists did in England was meet a man like Manley at the boat, because at the time he was taking the boat over, and they would convert him.
Mhm.
The hate of anything that anybody that had money.
yeah,
Mhm.
and that was it.
It doesn't matter if you could be as black, oriental, if you had money.
Mhm.
That's what it was. And Manley was, it's unfortunate, he was a communist.
Mhm.
There's no doubt about it. That was happening in England.
Yeah.
And so he brought it to Jamaica and he brought the hate.
Yeah.
Whilst you talked about the boat, if you don't mind me breaking in here, because we haven't talked about our mother, okay? Our mother was a fantastic woman. My understanding, and June might know the story better than I do, she never went to high school.
Yeah, 6th grade, that's it.
Never went to high school. Yet she took the boat to Canada to her cousin, just all alone. Can you imagine, out of this little Jamaica?
So it was
Well,
in
well,
our
she went
20s.
with a friend.
She went with a
She
friend.
went with an older woman.
And
What
what did she
year
do
was
when
that?
she went to Canada?
What year? Was it
It
30s?
must have been in 1920.
20s or 30s?
20,
Before
20-something?
Dad was.
20 something.
early 20s. She was about 17.
Oh, she was 17.
And she came back when she was 27. And by the time she was 27, she owned her own business. She was
In
a hairdresser.
Canada.
Yeah, she was
In
a
Canada.
hairdresser, right?
She was
Yes.
a yeah. And she had a fur coat and she had an insurance
Classy
policy.
lady. She was a classy
She was,
lady.
by 27, my mom owned her own business in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came to Jamaica and met my dad.
Fell head over heels. Right?
Talk about charismatic.
I
And
don't.
why did she come back to Jamaica?
Oh, Dawn found out interesting. Dawn found the steamship that she had. What happened was she had come to Jamaica in like about 1920,
Mhm.
and her mom was kind of a little frail, but she met Daddy then, and her father despised my father. My grandfather despised him. Told her, go to Canada and never come back.
And her two brothers were there.
Her two brothers were there with her.
Mhm.
Both died in Canada in an
Yeah.
epidemic or something.
Mhm.
We're not quite sure. And then her mom got sick. And my dad, and died. My dad sent her a cable. This is truth. Saying, your mom's very ill, come back. So she told me she would never have come back if she'd known her mom was dead.
Mm.
And when she came back, she was sad, and that's when she married Dad in 1921.
So had her father died?
No, you don't remember him? You don't, neither,
No, I've seen one picture of her. No.
he had this white beard,
With the short man.
Mr. Marks.
yeah, short guy. His brother, he was about 5'6", and his brother was 6'6".
Do you think he was a white man, wasn't he?
And what was his trade?
For his training. He went to England
Mm-hmm.
to college.
Really?
Yeah, he went to England to college, and
Wow, I didn't know
but
that.
see, in those days,
England was where you went to college.
Yeah, he went to college in England, and his father had money, but unfortunately the men controlled all the money. And when he died, when father died, and my grandfather was in England, he had to come back and support his family.
Mm-hmm.
So he never, I don't know what he was studying, it was engineering, I don't know what it was in England, but he was a saddle maker. He was
Yeah, I don't think he was very well off.
no,
I think he was one of the poorer white or near white, whatever, Jamaicans at the time.
he was
But-
poor.
Yeah,
He was a saddle maker.
yeah.
And once they stopped having horses, he lost his profession. He was a foremost saddle maker because my Vivette, who's my other sister-in-law, Vivette's grandfather would come all the way to Savamar, to Mark Spolak to make a saddle.
Oh, is that so?
Vivette's family had money.
Wow.
So, yeah, so that's that. So Mom never left again after she married Dad, and
An unbelievable story.
Was Paradise the first home?
yeah, Paradise was like a little cottage. And Dad, it was when Daddy bought it. He didn't have a lot of money, and that's where they started up when they got.
Did
married.
Dad live at Chantilly before he married Mom?
Yeah, he lived with his family.
Who totally spoiled him, his aunts, mother and aunts.
Dad had his mother and 6 aunts. No,
Jeez.
no uncles. What's that?
What were the names?
All
Mary.
All
Mary.
Marys.
Yes,
All Marys.
That's the first name.
Mary Clark, Mary Geddes,
Mary,
Mary who else?
Louise.
Louise. Which was the
Isabel.
grumpy one?
Isabel?
Mary Isabel. yeah.
Isabel.
Isabel.
She,
She was the last one
she
to
had,
die.
she had one eye,
Yeah.
and she was never happy.
And Dad's
Remember that.
mother was a control freak, and she came to Paradise. She'd bring two mangoes,
mangoes, you never
one
hear
for
that.
Dad and one for Bob.
I detect some jealousy here. Right? Don't say anything bad about my grandmother.
And one day she had a fight with Mom, and she picked up her pocketbook and walked back home.
In the rain. It was raining. That's
It
when-
was raining
But I remember,
too.
I thought it was the dad she had the quarrel. But
No,
it
no,
was
Mom.
Mom.
Right. Anyway, I remember, I forget a lot of things, but I remember that so well as a child. Because of course I was very close to my grandmother
Yes.
while they were.
Spoiled now.
I remember
Blessed.
her getting mad and walking out the door. She lived 5 miles from our house. It was pouring rain.
She was old.
Yeah, she was 80,
Old and stubborn.
89.
Wow.
And I remember Don and I get in the car and we're driving on the road and we stopped by her and begged her to come in.
Oh, I didn't remember that
She
part.
walked 5 miles home
In the rain.
and got pneumonia.
Oh, mercy. Tell them about the pig that she killed.
Oh, the pig.
I never heard about that one.
Well, I don't remember it, but I heard that.
Mike is the one that was with her.
Vanessa, we used to kill pigs and roast them, suckling pigs. And I guess she stuck the pig, and the pig got up and ran away.
She brought the boiling water
Oh, okay.
and put on him, and she turned back for something, and when she came back, the pig was gone.
Well,
So Anglesey became an award-winning farm.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we
2
bought
years in a row.
Anglesey in 1970, and that was the fulfillment of our dream, right? It wasn't in ruin it, but nothing was being done there at all before, and
It had a beautiful
Totally restored it.
home on it.
Yeah.
That they, who was it? Who was
Hudson's.
the Hudsons.
Hudson's again were a white English family, white English ancestry. And I said, Osmond Hudson, who was the owner, just wasn't into farming, right?
How we got that farm is unbelievable because we didn't even have the down payment to make it. And I can remember one thing is that all the money I got from our wedding went into that farm.
Wow.
That went into the down payment of the farm.
Yeah, but in 1975 and 76, our farm was Champion Farm in Jamaica.
And Dad was, on 76, Dad was very ill.
Dad had a stroke and he was very ill, but we had to take him to the
Maypen,
To Denby.
Denby.
which was where the show was. And that was basically the last time he was like
Came.
public,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Chris was born
76.
in right before, just when Dad got sick. Cause I remember they pushed him out on the porch when Chris came home. He held Chris, went into his bed, and he never came out back again.
So start telling the stories about how did
How
you
did
get
things
funds?
change?
So,
Yeah.
Michael Manley.
Michael
Michael
Manley.
Manley.
Michael Manley.
And I have to interact and tell you that
Mm.
we grew up as PNP people.
Mm.
I mean, I used to go to meetings
rabid-
all over Jamaica,
rabid
rabid
PNP.
PNP meetings.
Okay, and PNP means what?
People's National Party, and that was what Manley was supposed to represent. But he
okay.
had his father there, who was really totally different to him, Norman Manley, before. And then he came along and took over, and I remember campaigning for him, right in Savlamar, and Bobby gave me all, I just
Chickens to cook.
chickens to
and,
cook and whatnot, and I
and
said to
soup.
myself, why is he doing this? Because he felt that Manley was really going to be good for Jamaica, but turned out, all he had to do was say, I will walk to the mountaintop. You remember that?
Hand in hand.
Hand in hand with Castro to the mountaintop. That was the demise of Jamaica.
Yeah, and
Because
and then
next morning, all the doctors who saw it coming out and had been moving their money, the Chinese people,
Cubans.
well, we didn't have that much
Cuban
Cubans in
doctors?
Jamaica.
Cuban doctors.
Well, no, those came in after.
Oh, okay.
And they were moving all their money. I remember Essie and
Oh,
all of
moving
them.
their money.
Yeah,
Out of
every
Jamaica.
time they were going away, they had all 5 kids going with them. And I kept saying, why aren't they carrying all the kids? But at that time, you were allowed to carry $500 out per person. And that's how they were doing it. I even said it to Bobby, and Bobby said, I'm not leaving this country. I'm not leaving what I work hard for. And I said, well, one day I was driving around down the road, and I just dropped Stephen off to school at Paradise. That was when the club was just built. And a guy stopped me at, where is that, where Dr. Harvey used to live? What do you used to call it? Herndon.
Yeah, doesn't matter
And the
where.
boy said to me, hey, you brown gal, this is exactly what he said. All like you gonna have to left here. That's what he said to me. And he said, and furthermore, I know where your son goes to school. When he said that, my head almost exploded. Well, Pat was sitting beside me, and I wouldn't like to tell you what she told him. She let him a barrage of Jamaican bad words. And that said to me, no, if he's going to threaten my kid, I'm not going to be here. I went to, and then Cherry came to Savlamar one day and said, I am encouraging you guys to fill out your application. Mommy said, I'm not leaving here what I worked hard for.
Well, I'll tell my story here.
Yeah.
Well, I was married in Kingston to Jill's father, and he was the manager of a savings and loan association. And he decided to build another house on the hill behind our house in Stony Hill. And he got approval for a certain amount of money. But he was alcoholic, and he kept using up the money. And he overspent, okay? No, I'm just telling you that to show you what happened. I'm coming home from work downtown Kingston, and I remember the exact spot where this happened, and there was a march of black people coming towards me. I would say about 100. And you know, they just used to have marches in those days.
Where was that?
And I don't lock my doors or anything. So I stop my car and say, well, they'll just pass me by. Well, they reached in the window and started to pull me out the car.
Mm.
And I put my hand in the steering wheel, and then I saw a huge white man come out of the crowd and come and got my door locked and said, lady, drive. And I put my foot on the accelerator and did, wow! And they were throwing stones and bottles after me.
Mm.
And I said, if this is like the midst of Africa, Jamaica, forget me. And I was just a few minutes from picking up Jillian from daycare. And I went home and started my papers. And at the same time, they were getting ready to take Jackie to court for embezzlement. So then I got we got all green cards, and I got him and Jillian out of the country. And they went to his mother in Philadelphia. Whilst I tried to clean up the mess, I had to get the house sold, I had to sell everything, and got on a plane, and moved to this beloved refuge, Hummingbird Lane. We stopped in Miami, picked up Peter. Peter was in University of Florida, and now that I didn't have a job, he couldn't stay at the University of Florida. So he moved to Miami where Maxine was. We picked him up and went to our refuge, 10 Hummingbird Lane, where June and her whole family became the refuge center for all of us moving in. And I like my dad, I never ever wanted to leave Jamaica. Never ever.